right, everyone. So let's get started here with your first day arriving in China then. Very exciting stuff. So make sure when you head to the airport back in your home country, make sure that you have a couple of things ready with you when you come here. Obviously, the big thing that you want to make sure that you have, aside from all the documents that Jenny and Uri would have been talking about, is making sure that you have your welcome letter. Now, this welcome letter would have been sent to you actually a little bit beforehand. And in this welcome letter, they'll have a little bit of information about what to expect actually when you arrive at the airport in your arrival city. One thing that's really important from there is actually the visa officer's information as well. They'll be your main point of contact while you're en route, should anything change with your flights as well. So make sure that you have this welcome letter printed off, and make sure also that you have their the visa officer's WeChat information saved in your phone as well, just in case you need to make any sort of changes or update them about anything on your flights. Another thing just to be aware of actually when you arrive at the airport is obviously when you arrive in China, you'll be going through customs, you'll be picking up your bags. That's sort of what to expect. It's quite normal. It's very easy as well. And then once you actually get through that customs and through picking up your bags, you'll actually be able to meet your EF driver. So this is the first face of EF that you'll be meeting right outside of the arrivals gate. They'll have a nice big EF sign there waiting for you.
Very exciting.
Big welcome. Yeah,
official.
Very exciting. It's very official. They'll pull you over and keep an eye out for them. And then they'll actually pull you over to an area where you'll be able to meet a few of the other teachers. Usually you might have to wait a little bit for some of the other teachers. Again, you'll be arriving with a few other teachers usually. And then they'll actually be driving you from the airport to the hotel. So this is sort of, again, your first welcome to EF. And they'll be able to help get you sorted getting to the hotel. And once you get to the hotel, make sure obviously that you have your cash on hand with you as well. So
Very
we've
important.
talked about this in the other webinar. Make sure you have at least about 2,500 RMB in cash. The main reason for that being when you get to the hotel, you're actually going to have to put down a deposit of anywhere from maybe 200 RMB to about 500 RMB. Now this depends on the city that you'll be in. So remember to be flexible and to have any sort of amount in that range ready. And again, this is a refundable deposit, so obviously, assuming you don't do anything bad in the hotel room, when you check out at the end of the 2 weeks, you will obviously get that money back as well. And once you get settled into that first night, you might be arriving in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Take the rest of the time, you can just relax. You can hang out. There might be a few of the other teachers around the hotel as well. You can get to know them, go out for dinner perhaps, get your first taste of the local Chinese food.
Cuisine.
Very exciting, obviously. And then just get some sleep, get settled in, make sure everyone back home knows that you're arrived safely, and then get ready for your next day in China. One thing, obviously, when you get to that hotel as well, this is where you'll be staying for the first 2 weeks as well. And you'll also be having breakfast in the morning there.
Nice perk to have.
Yeah, very nice as well.
And going back to what Harris said, make sure you reach back home to your family members so they know that you arrived safely, as well to your recruiter, so they also know that you arrived.
Absolutely. We'll be keeping an eye on your flights as well usually, but just make sure to let us know, the visa officer that we mentioned, if there are any updates on it.
Definitely.
All right, and on to the next day, this is your first day at the office.
And day 2 begins for all of you here at EF. On this day, you'll be arriving at one of our offices and starting your official onboarding and training procedures. You'll meet your visa officers, your trainers, as well as potentially some of your recruiters if you are in the Shanghai office. On this day, you'll be going through a number of different presentations, and a lot of information will be given to you. So like Harris said, make sure to take advantage of that free breakfast at the hotel so you're ready to go for your day ahead. The first thing that will happen is most likely contract signing. This is a big important section of your employment with us. You'll go through a detailed contract signing, although you should have received the electronic version in your email sent through by your recruiter. So make sure that you're verifying that ahead of time. You'll go through a visa update. So the visa officers will let you know what to expect the next couple of days in China and let you know exactly what we need going forward, as well as a health and safety presentation and a housing presentation. You'll also have the opportunity to try a local cuisine of the city that you'll be assigned to and have lunch with your fellow new colleagues as well as the rest.
You'll have some little bit of icebreakers with them as
Definitely.
well. So we know this is your first day in China, so you will have some time to sort of get to know everyone, but there will be a lot of information coming at you, so lunch is definitely needed.
A plus.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the most important things of these days is remembering your original documents. This is the most important thing. If you're going to take anything from this webinar, probably this is it, is to remember to bring your original documents. So your original background check and your original degree, as well as the certificate for the TEFL if you took it before joining EF. And then
if you want any more specifics about those exact documents, I know we talk about them a lot more in the other talk that we had with Jenny and Uri as well, and your recruiter can definitely talk with you a little bit more about those documents as well. So it is, as Joanne mentioned, the most important thing about that first day here.
Definitely. And then lastly, you'll receive a housing presentation. I think finding an apartment is one of the most, probably the things that we're most excited about, but is a bit nerve-wracking at times. So on this day, you'll receive a full presentation, what to expect, what to look for. In the end, you have full control of where you live, who you live with. We just try to assist in that process. You'll have the opportunity to opt in or opt out of the cash advance at this time. So you can sign to obtain it or just decline it and decide to opt out. We encourage you to take it. It's a great help.
Mandatory, but it's a great help.
Definitely. It's a great way to get started at IEF or just in China in general, so you can put your first month's rent and your deposit and be comfortable those first couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the specifics of how that works will be talked about with your trainers there as well, but it will be taken out of your first few paychecks.
Yes.
And it's really nice to help you out as you go through that housing process.
Definitely.
Which, as we mentioned, although it sounds stressful, it's really one of the most fun parts about being here.
It is.
And you can find a great location, and the agents that we offer you will really be able to help you out.
And we'll talk a bit more about the specific process about apartment hunting and what to do and what to expect in the next couple of minutes. But something else to note is that the 10,000 cash advance that you are able to opt in or opt out is very different from the 10,000 RMB that we encourage you to bring with you to China. Those are two separate amounts. So please remember to also have at least 10,000 RMB easily accessible when you first come to China, either cash or in your card and in your bank account, just easily accessible.
Exactly. We just want to make sure you're able to live comfortably until you get that first paycheck when you get here, obviously.
Definitely.
All right, so now we are on to day 3 in China. And now this day here, this will be your second official day in the office area now. And this day, again, this is where we want to make sure that you are flexible with what will be happening this day. Depending on what city you're in and how many people are arriving, it may be a couple things. You may be starting with a medical check. Most people will get this done on the Monday though. Or most likely you'll be getting your bank account sorted out. So obviously this is going to be one of the most important things that you get done here, is getting your bank account set up here. And the visa officers will actually help you get started with setting up this bank account here on the Friday, or on this morning here. Now, when you're going to get this bank account set up, this will be the account that your EF Pay actually gets it directly deposited into, which is obviously very important. So it is important to be ready and up for this day. And be aware that the process can take a little bit of time at the bank. Obviously, it's an official process to go through, so be ready to spend most of the morning there. Maybe have a book, have a podcast ready.
What do you bring when you were signing up?
I think I had my Kindle reader, so I had something I could read on the side.
Nice.
I know I was in there for a little bit, but again, that's part of the process here.
Good.
I am sure. What did you have when you went?
I think I just had a book and just access to my Spotify account.
And if not, there's plenty of people to talk to as well.
Definitely.
Plenty of new teachers you'll be getting to know. And the visa officers will be helping walk through what you need to get done and getting your account set up. This is, again, why it's important to have all your documentation ready
to go
and available. So this morning you'll most likely be getting set up with your bank account and getting that finished up as well. Once you get all that finished up, you'll head out. You'll get maybe have a little snack afterwards with some of the other people who finish up at the bank, grab a lunch, and then you'll be back to sort out some of the other specific details here. Now, we have the bank sorted out now. Another big thing about living in China is obviously having your phone ready and able to use.
Very important.
Now, we will give you a SIM card, so a Chinese SIM card for you to use. Now, to be able to use that, obviously the one big thing that you want to make sure that you actually have is that your phone is unlocked. So you can actually make sure you can use that SIM card. Now, to do this, you can just contact your local provider back home, and they'll be able to make sure it's all sorted out for you. It's usually pretty easy now, actually, nowadays, so just make sure you contact your provider.
Excellent.
And once you get your phone unlocked, you get that SIM card in there, we'll be able to help get you sorted out with a Chinese account. And it's actually really easy and really affordable in China as well. It's mostly pay as you go, and you're able to actually refill it over your phone once you get started. And that's actually great. Once you get your bank account set up, after the first week or so, you'll be able to link that to your WeChat account.
That's
and
really
then you'll
nice.
be able to essentially pay for your phone bill through your phone.
There's a lot of bills that you can pay through WeChat, so it's a nice perk to have overseas.
I think it's sort of tough to remember life without WeChat.
Yes, it's very true.
Yeah. But also after that, so you get your SIM card sorted out, you'll get your bank sorted out. The next big thing is obviously getting to meet some of your colleagues, actually. So this is your first time, you'll most likely be getting to either go to your center or at least meet your manager around the headquarters that you're at. Now, obviously, if you're in one of the smaller cities, you'll probably be actually going to that city later the following week, so you obviously won't be going to your center just yet. But for everyone else, you'll be meeting your manager. You'll maybe get to meet some of your colleagues as well. So make sure you're dressing smartly and professionally that day. Of course, you are meeting some of your bosses that day as well as your colleagues. So make sure you're dressing business casual, business smart.
Yeah, definitely.
Making that good first impression.
First impressions are everything.
Always important here. But that's essentially going to be your Friday. And again, make sure you're flexible on this, depending on what city you're in and where you are. That might be a little bit different. And obviously, on the Thursday beforehand, we'll be confirming some of these details with your trainer, obviously.
So we finally made it to your first weekend in China. I think one of the most exciting things, which is apartment hunting. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of what to expect and what these 2 days will look like. Remember that you have full control of where you live and who you live with. We just try to assist with the process and make it as smooth as possible. Throughout that presentation on your first day at the office, you should have received a list of bilingual agents. Right after you got that list, you should have been reaching out to these agents via WeChat, letting them know what you're looking for, what you're expecting, the areas, the type of rooms, how many roommates you have, and maybe locations as well. And then you're going to start the adventure on Saturday and Sunday. Keep in mind that it is the beginning. You have 2 weeks at the hotel, so it's okay if you don't find an apartment before the end of the week.
I remember I actually took, I think, about 10 or 11 days to find mine. I was one of the last people, and that's very...
But you found it, right?
I found it, absolutely.
Definitely.
And I was one of the last people in my group, so it's very common to spend a little bit of time doing that.
Yeah, and enjoy your time at the hotel. It's a free stay, so take advantage of it as well. But then after the 2 weeks, you'll be moving into your own apartment. A couple of things people usually look into is a couple of things that they want to have in this apartment. So I wanted to ask Harris, what were the 3 things that he really needed when he was thinking about this apartment hunt?
Right. That's tough. I remember it's tough to narrow down to maybe just 3 important things, but I remember I told my agent some of the things that I really wanted was to be close to the metro. And that's one thing I think everyone sort of told me when I moved here, to be close to a metro station, walking distance. And then another big thing that I wanted was a lot of natural light.
Yeah.
I like just being able to wake up and you can have maybe the sun shining in. It makes it just a little bit more homey, I find.
Yeah.
And the other one was within my price range. So I gave them a budget.
Very important.
I think one of the most important ones there. So I gave them all a budget and I told them these 3 things. And then they were able to find a place within that, within those things. And I essentially saw a bunch of different apartments with them. And they're really helpful with this.
Definitely.
And just I think to clarify as well, when you're messaging all these agents that we're talking about, it's all done over WeChat again.
Yeah.
So
WeChat.
it's very easy to connect with them.
Definitely. I think when I was first starting off, so I lived in Beijing initially before moving to Shanghai. So when I was in Beijing, I had 2 roommates that I met through the onboarding process, actually. They were fellow EF teachers, and we were looking for 3 things. I think the most important was, like you said, subway. We wanted to be close to a subway station because all of our centers are conveniently located on a subway stop. I also wanted to have amenities close by, so a grocery store, a post office, just things that I could walk to if I needed, a bank as well. And the third thing was we wanted a very traditional experience. In Beijing, there are very traditional neighborhoods called hutongs, H-U-T-O-N-G. So we wanted to make sure that we had something very traditional in one of these neighborhoods. In Shanghai, it looked a bit different. I think the most important thing to me was being able to walk to work.
These things will change every time you move, I guess.
Exactly.
That's one of the nice things about being here, that your first year, you can get a completely different experience than your second year if you stay.
Definitely. And a big thing with the housing process and finding an apartment, I'm a planner, so I tried figuring this out before I got to China. And the housing market is so quick and fast that any apartment that I had seen before actually arriving was already not available by the time I got to actually being able to go and look at it. So take your time, be patient. I know that's a bit nerve-wracking, but know that 2 weeks will be more than enough time and you'll be given all the resources that you need before starting the search.
And the other thing too is when you look at these places online beforehand, I did the same as well. I'm a bit of a planner too.
Yes.
And those places that you see on sites, maybe foreign expat sites, these are going to be way more expensive than what the ones you actually be able to see.
That's
when
true.
You meet some of the agents here, you'll meet them over WeChat and you get much wider listings, much better price point as well.
Definitely.
So don't be scared if you first take a look online there. You'll have much more choice when you get here to China, obviously. And just a side note, for some of those people who are maybe moving on to smaller cities after their initial onboarding, you will, of course, after that first week, you'll head down to your new city, and of course, you'll be put up in a hotel there for a week, where you'll then be able to look at for a house while you're there as well. So you can sort of spend this first weekend
exploring that city where you're in. So it's a nice free weekend to explore and see a city before your onward travels.
Yeah, precisely. All right, so you survived your first weekend in China.
Yes.
You've seen some apartments, got a little taste of that, maybe already found an apartment, and probably tasted a lot of good food with some of your new friends.
Closest friends.
Closest friends you've already become best friends with and roommates potentially.
Yeah, definitely.
So now you're back at work here. And the first thing that you'll be getting done, obviously, we mentioned earlier on a little bit about a medical check. Now, this might have been done for you on the Friday. For everyone else, it'll be done on the Monday here. So again, this is where it's important. Just be a little bit flexible with the schedule, depending on what city you're in. Now, with this medical check, this was obviously the medical check that you signed that commitment letter to earlier with your recruiter. Again, one of those documents that you will be bringing the original copies of. Now, for this medical check, again, this is part of the visa application process required by the Chinese government to process the rest of your visa. So it is important and it is very vital for your success, obviously, in getting this visa. Now, when you're actually here, in preparation for this, your visa team will let you know a little bit about the other preparations you need to do. But the big things is that you won't be able to drink any fluids or eat any food the night before. And now this is to prepare for the medical check. Which we will then take you to as a group. Our visa team will take you there as a big group, and you'll all have fasted the night before, and you go through the check. It's fairly non-invasive. You will have to give a little small amount of blood as well to check for infectious diseases. And then after that, once everyone is all finished up with the check, you'll be able to obviously go out for a little lunch and refuel a little bit, as I'm sure you'll be tired and a little bit hungry as well.
Definitely. And we forgot to mention this, but we do have a welcome bag that you will receive at the hotel on your first day, or when you get to the headquarters of the office on your first day formally. There are some snacks in there, so make sure to save those and bring them with you if you get hungry easily like I do. So I brought them, saved them, and it was a nice snack before we went out for lunch, before continuing with the rest of the day.
I did not think that far ahead, and I was a little bit hungry waiting for lunch afterwards. But again, everyone's in it together. You'll be with a big group of teachers there, obviously. Now, after that medical check, what you'll be doing here is sort of getting started for the next day or two. So the Monday and Tuesday, you'll be sort of getting started with some of the trainings and actually what it will look like in your job actually now. So we talked a lot about sort of the training and development that we have here. So our training team will be walking you through a little bit more about EF's core values, EF sort of development opportunities, how to really succeed in your role, going from maybe an initial teacher to maybe a higher level senior teacher into recruitment like ourselves here,
like us.
Or even working with an overseas office after a year or two,
Definitely.
Like where I started. So a lot of opportunities to go through, but the other big thing you're going to be talking about is putting to use what you learned in that TEFL that you have done already. So really applying some of those practices, learning about EF's curriculum, some of our teaching styles, and actually using some of the online materials that we have as well, so you know exactly what you'll be having in the classroom.
Definitely.
So it's great sort of hands-on learning.
Yeah, so you did that online component on your own simultaneously with the visa process, and now you're going to do that in-person component with our trainers on site. It's very exciting, and it's a first step into understanding what it will be like in the classroom.
Absolutely. So make sure during these couple of days, you'll be getting a lot of information. Take notes, ask questions, participate. Again, you'll be with your fellow colleagues, fellow managers potentially. So make sure you're learning as much as possible. And if you don't understand anything, just ask. Everyone's in the same sort of scenario as you, obviously.
Definitely. Excellent.
Yeah.
So now we're at day 8. So this is officially when you'll be at your center. If you are a kids and teens teacher, make sure that you're wearing your uniform, so your khaki pants, the shirt that was already provided to you, and black or dark brown or black shoes. Make sure they're comfortable because you'll be on your feet a lot. And then if you are an adult teacher or an online teacher, your business casual, business professional, probably something like what we're wearing, and make sure that you're ready to go for your first day. This is when I think gets really interesting and it gets real. You'll be observing classes, you'll be co-teaching with your fellow colleagues and teachers, and you'll be doing in-center trainings as well as online trainings and really learning the ins and outs of what it means to be a successful teacher at EF. So your first 2 months will be all about actually in-center training and making you successful for the remainder of your 12 months. So make sure, like Hera said, ask questions, take notes, be engaging, and really try to take everything in and enjoy those first couple of months while you're learning a lot about what success looks like at EF.
Yeah, exactly. And again, keep in mind, especially during those first few days as well, putting your best foot forward there. Well, this can be the case throughout the whole time. But making sure that, especially if you're an adults teacher, you're dressed very professionally, you're ready to work, obviously, and really asking those good questions.
Definitely be on time,
Yeah.
be ready to participate. You're going to join a community. EF is all about having an international community as well as a local community. So really try to immerse yourself in this community and be a part of it. So definitely set best foot forward,
Exactly.
and that'll be what makes you successful for the remainder
And
of the
enjoy
year.
every moment of it.
Definitely. And now for the questions section of our talk today.
How did you guys personally find the process of finding an apartment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll maybe get started on that
go for
myself. I arrived here first in Shanghai, and after sort of the first day going through that seminar, I was luckily able to actually find one of the other teachers in my training group, and we just really hit it off, and we decided to look for an apartment together. So it's really quite normal, and we found the process to be quite fun, really exciting, honestly. It was one of the most, I think, looking back at it, most entertaining times about moving to
Definitely.
China. Very formative. You get to find a new place to live, and you get to see a lot of the city by doing this. So we saw a lot of different apartments that first weekend, and really into that first week as well. We used a lot of different agents. The nice thing about finding an apartment here compared to anywhere that I've ever looked for in the past was how quick it is and how accessible these agents
Definitely.
are. They will send you messages on WeChat any time of day with new photos of places, and you can go check it out right there.
Yeah.
And so we saw a lot. It was really fun. Ended up getting a place in about 7 to 10 days, I believe.
Okay.
And I was one of the last people in my group, so I was a little bit more picky, I guess. But of course, I had that hotel stay to fall back on as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so mine looked a bit different from Beijing to Shanghai. When I arrived in Beijing, I met my roommates through the onboarding process as well. So they were two fellow teachers, and it was, like you said, very exciting. So we messaged our agents on WeChat. They got our preferences, and then they told us they were going to be ready and picking us up at the hotel to start the apartment hunt process. Little did we know that we were going to be picked up in scooters. So we were picked up in scooters. We got to see the city, got to see a number of different apartments, did not make our decision that day, kept looking for a couple of extra days, definitely took advantage of the 2 weeks at the hotel, and then towards the end of our stay, we found an apartment, again, that met those 3 requirements that I talked to you guys about earlier during the housing section. And in Shanghai, a bit similar. I still got picked up in a scooter, got to see the city with my agent, which was really helpful, and I found the apartment within probably a week. So it was a lot quicker here, but I did make the mistake of trying to find it before coming.
Yes,
so I
did
thought
too.
that being in China, I would still find Beijing to Shanghai, I could look for it ahead of time. It's the same as you guys coming in for the first time to China, or a current teacher moving to a different city. You need to wait until you're in that city to make it a successful apartment hunt process. So just keep that in mind, learn from my mistakes.
Exactly. And for you thinking that maybe is 2 weeks enough as well to also give you a bit of an understanding, when I looked for a new apartment after starting my second year, I actually found that I tried reaching out to agents about a month in advance in Shanghai, and they told me it's way too early.
Definitely.
Reach out to me in 2 weeks' time. So that's really more than enough time to find your apartment.
Yeah.
What was your biggest surprise in your first month of teaching?
So I was never a teacher before. This is my first teaching experience. I think the most surprising thing was how quickly you build rapport with your students and how they become the most exciting part of your day. I was a kids and teens teacher, so I'm expressing my experience from a kids and teens point of view, but I'm sure it's very similar for our adult teachers. That rapport and that communication that you have with them is, I think, what makes this one of the best experiences that I've ever had. You don't get that type of reward from any experience. So really working with the students, seeing those aha moments in their eyes, and really learning from them as well was, I think, what I was most surprised and most thankful for as well.
I remember when you first came to Shanghai after that job, I think one of the biggest things you kept talking about was how much you missed your kids already. Which is, it's amazing to hear, honestly, that's, when you start a new job, that's the thing that you really miss.
Definitely. And I was very scared when I first got here. I had no idea what to expect being in a classroom with 10 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds. And those become your most rewarding experiences and the experiences that really help you grow and develop as a teacher at EF.
Do you find most people live with roommates or live by themselves?
Again, honestly, as we sort of touched on in one of the other questions, it's something that it's really up to you. It's a personal choice.
Yeah.
That's what's a really nice thing about finding an apartment is you get to choose. Now, a lot of teachers will choose to find a roommate, especially in their first year in China. And there's such a good opportunity in the teacher onboarding group, there's so many other teachers working with you. It's really nice to be able to find a roommate there. And that's what both of us did ourselves. But I remember in my group, there were a number of people who actually chose to live alone as well.
Definitely.
It's really up to you. And it's really, again, maybe that if that's one of those top 3 things for you is to live alone, by all means, it's affordable.
Search for
to do
those
here.
type of apartments.
Search for those types of apartments. You can really find all types while you're here.
Really.
In China.
And another way to find roommates is by just renting out a room inside a bigger apartment. So some apartments have 4 or 5 bedrooms, and you just pay for your specific room, and you share the kitchen and bathrooms, but then you meet people through that way as well. So there's a lot of different options of finding roommates or not finding roommates. But yes, like you said, it's your first year in China. You want that support system at home when you get back from work, and just having that community at work as well as outside. So highly encourage having that roommate experience.
Yeah, and you can always chat a little bit with your teachers at your center as well when you get there. More experienced teachers. Again, you're part of that community. They're there to help as well. If they might have some insight into friends of theirs who are looking for apartments, who have apartments, who want roommates. So again, really reach out and make use of that community.
And they know the routes, so they know what's the easiest way to get to the center and what'll be the best commute overall. So keep that in mind as well. So when you are at your center for the first time that Friday after landing in China, talk to them and see what they say.
When will you be reimbursed for the paperwork and documents we had to apply for back home?
Yeah, very important. So if you saved all your receipts, which I hope you did, and you brought them with you, once you're at your center, you'll be set up with the IT system, and there is an online portal in which you will upload all of these receipts, and then you will receive back that reimbursement within the first or second paycheck, depending on when you're submitting the actual request. So be a bit patient, but know that it'll be reimbursed back to you.
Exactly.
When do you find out your center you'll be teaching at?
Absolutely. So this is something that you're going to find from one of your recruiters, so like myself or Joanne might be telling you. And this is going to be something that is leading up to the final days of your arrival here. So most likely you'll be expecting to get it by the day that you're departing. So if you're arriving on the Wednesday, sometime on the Tuesday at the latest, you'll be getting those details.
Yeah, and know that we need to notify schools as well as on our end, so we are waiting for a lot of that information at times. So be patient with your recruiters and know that we will give you that information as soon as we have it, and as well as with your contract and all the important documents that we want you to have before actually arriving over here.
How much Mandarin would you recommend we have prior to arriving?
Well, I think I can speak from my own experience. I had next to no Mandarin experience before coming here. I'm not sure about yourself as well.
I took a year in university, but I think that doesn't count because I forgot most of it.
So we came here pretty much with nothing, and I found it to be more than easy to get sort of sorted out with life here. Took advantage of some of the classes that EF offers as well.
Definitely.
So I did a little bit browsing on the EF teacher site before the Mandarin Now site beforehand, learning a little bit before I came here, just for a few days. And then when I got here, I continued those classes with EF. And that was really helpful. And I now have my own private tutor as well that I use. And I've been able to get along.
Yeah, nice. So in Beijing, I took advantage of the free face-to-face classes that EF offered. I took some advantage of the online Chinese Town platform that EF offers. So that's definitely a perk. You have full access to that upon accepting an offer with us. And then in Shanghai, I'm not also taking advantage of that those face-to-face classes, but definitely there's apps that you can use to get by. You will pick up naturally on things, numbers and how to give directions and how to order a taxi and foods that you want when you're shopping and going to a supermarket. So definitely know that things will come naturally to you as you're here, and there's ways of working through that language barrier.
So when you first get here, some of the things that you might need the Chinese language more specifically, like getting your internet set up and getting some of those accounts set up on your phone. Remember, you also have local teachers at your school as well, and they're really great resources to help you maybe get some of those things sorted out while you're really getting your feet settled in here. And again, they're part of that community to help get you sorted here.
Definitely.
So make use of that community.
What's a typical grocery shopping experience like in China?
It's a great question.
I guess there's no typical answer there. It really depends on who you ask, and that's why I think for myself, I've had both experiences a little bit. I know you can maybe go to the wet markets, which is one experience, or the more authentic or local when you think about it in your mind. Going to the wet market, picking up vegetables, really fresh vegetables, exotic vegetables and fruits from all over Asia. All local. And one thing I was really amazed by is, first of all, how common these wet markets are. And for those of you who don't know what a wet market is, essentially it's just a massive area of fresh produce and fresh meat as well all the time. Now this is where I'll go to pick up veggies on my way home from work, and they are incredibly cheap. You can stock up on big bags of lotus root and spinaches and bok choys and different
Broccolis.
mushrooms you haven't probably seen before, and different fresh fruits. The tropical fruits you can get are fantastic.
Yeah.
And it'll cost you a fraction of what you spent back home.
Definitely.
And yeah, so great option there. I know another option though you can do is the online route.
So I'm a big fan of online grocery shopping in China. They deliver it right to my door. It's a bilingual app. One of my colleagues actually here at EF showed me this amazing app, and I am hooked on it. But I also have a local wet market across the street. So I do go there for the seasonal fruits and vegetables. And it's one of the tips that I got actually in Beijing is to cook with what's in the season. I think we're used to sometimes specific dishes back home, and when you come to China, you want to try to make that all the time. Definitely take advantage of what is available to you. Ask the questions, what is it? How can I use it? There's a number of different ways you can use different vegetables and fruits on different dishes.
Going to the wet market is one of my favorite experiences.
Definitely.
And it's one of the best ways to learn that, to practice that Mandarin you've been using. So it's really fun. You can ask ask some of the people at the stalls, as you said, how to cook it, what they are, what it'll taste like. And it's really exciting. It's time to sort of explore Chinese culture a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. You're here, now what? I hope you enjoyed our talk. And remember those two things, your documents.
And have fun and make the most of it.
If you like this talk and enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. We look forward to having you in China. Bye.
Bye.